This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Experience a membership that backs what you're building with American Express Business Platinum. Unlock over $3,500 in business and travel value annually with statement credits on select purchases from brands like Dell, Hilton, and Adobe, and other benefits. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Based on total potential value of statement credits on select purchases and other benefits, enrollments required, monthly and other limits and terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
You're listening to the Super Rugby Cymru podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the SRC podcast. Joining me, as always, Double R, Mr. Rob Rees, and the return of the one and only Bucky, John Harris. And I didn't remind you beforehand, but I hope he has been looking at his betting slips this week, because otherwise that nickname's going down the drain. He did. He did.
The bookies are ready.
Oh, happy days.
It's good to be back.
Anyway, boys, how we doing?
All good, sir. All good. Aberravon have having a tank in Cardiff. We're going to give Quins a tank in tomorrow, aren't they, Matt? That's what you were saying in your Cardiff shit.
Oh, well, I think someone's had it through already.
Yes.
All right. So before the derogatory comments start coming out, we know Rob loves them. Let's dive straight into some of the action from round one.
Be so nice about it.
Oh, we're not a very nice group of people, see, are we? Anyone involved in any of these podcasts, we just bad people, down rotten to the core. That's what it is. Okay, an unusual Friday night start to the season, live on S4C S4C mainstream channel. Autumn this year. I wish all games were on it. At least two a week. I'm sure we can get two a week. We had reigning champions Newport hosting reigning cup champion Llandovery. And for those of you that don't know how it went down, Llandovery turned out 27-20 winners. Now, I know I've watched the game. Rob, you were commenting during on all your socials as you do. John, did you watch this game?
I didn't, unfortunately.
That's the one prerequisite you've got. Watch the televised game.
I know. I really wanted to, but I just couldn't squeeze it in.
Just pretend the baby's crying and just watch it on your phone or something.
Like for kids.
Somebody Aberravon.
I know. I missed that too.
All right, then. So let's dive in with someone that might actually know a bit about what happened. Rob, take us through that game. Where were the key battles, and what actually got you excited in that game? Because I'll be honest, Newport's first try, really early on, lovely little move, kicking behind. That was awesome. That set a nice tone for the game.
Yeah, it was played in a great manner. I thought, the conditions were in great. They were, it was right in this sort of the turn of all our good weather. It was windy. It's very open ground. It was wet, but both sides came to play. Both sides had a quality team, fielded. It was the Friday night on, terrestrial telly. It wasn't shunted off to the sort of the back cupboards of YouTube. So I thought everything was building up to be a really good game, and it was. The first half was quite grounded, I thought. I mean, Newport started the better side. They were dominating the collisions, I felt. They were getting the upper hand in the set piece. But I felt that Llandovery score late in the first half is where it turned. You look at that second half, and it was like a complete role reversal. Newport were looking, completely out of sorts. I thought Josh Skinner's 11 minutes summed it up. 10 minutes in the bin. The first thing he does, he comes on, is dump tackle somebody, a penalty, and Llandovery go on and score some extra points from there. But it was Llandovery just controlled this one. Once they got into that position, they just saw it out, which is impressive because they're not an overly experienced squad up front. Yeah, they have got their experience there, but they're not what they have had in recent years. I think the back line is extremely experienced, settled. And yeah, I thought we saw maybe not the best of either side, but we saw two good teams battling routes. And I think it's great that we can showcase Cup champs versus league champs opening night on mainstream TV. It'd be great to see the figures. I have asked, not been told.
Not been told yet. Got to add that yet then. So
come on, John Alder. I know you're listening. Get him going.
He always listens. He's a good fan. Subscribe to the channel. We need a few more people to hit 2,000. More on that later. Yeah, it was a big forward battle, to be fair. And the program actually highlighted Dom Kasuth, the number 8 from Kidwelly, that's now with the Scarlets Academy, and obviously he's been delegated to Llandovery as one to watch. And it turned out it was the other Scarlets Academy boy in the starting lineup, loose head Josh Morse. First time we've seen him in the SRC, injured all of last season, which was really disappointing for me. I've loved watching Josh scrimmage. He's a unit now. On another pod, we spoke with Kemsey Matthias, and he was saying Josh is benching somewhere. I think it was like 175, 185 kilo. He's an absolute beast of a boy, and it shows. Like, I've always known Josh as a solid scrummager, carrying not so much. So seeing what he did in this game, even in just that one instance which led to his try, was outstanding. He just carries through. What was it, 3-4 Newport players? They were just falling off him. Beautiful little offload, and then he crashes over a couple of phases later, which is brilliant for the young man. But another debutant competitive debutant, I should say, for Llandovery was hooker Cam Lewis. Now, John, former Aberfan man, he is. Well, what could you tell us about Cam? He put up a good show. He's not highly experienced. Obviously, he's the son of Lyndon Lewis, Steph Carmarthen Quinn's coach.
Well, he was always good for us when coming on. Yeah, I don't think he got a massive amount of game time last year, but when he did, he was solid. He's got a high ceiling, I think. So I think that's a good signing for Carmarthen. He'll do well there.
I'll be honest. It's
sorry, Llandovery even.
Yeah. I'll be honest.
That was up early.
Yeah, this is kind of funny and a slightly off topic, but obviously, Llandovery and Carmarthen Quins had a friendly game, a pre-season warm-up against the Scarlets, and Saul Hurley from Aberfan came as a hooker to play for the Scarlets, which was quite funny when you got all them boys with Llandovery. And yeah, Dan Gemin turned out for the Scarlets as well on that day. It was. I'm surprised he's not in an academy, mind. But yeah, it was a great game. It was our forward value. Like you said, the tide was turning. I think it was when Johan Hughes went over in, I think it was the second half, that you could just feel things were shifting to Llandovery's favour. And they just didn't let it from there.
Yeah, they could go through, didn't they?
Yeah, they're an amazing team. And they don't have to play well to win games. And, you're playing against the league champions. These are the number one ranked, seeded, whatever term you want to use. You've gone to their park. Okay, it's a first week of the league. And, no one's expecting you to be like running off, 100% top form from the off. But, I do think these are probably 6, 7s out of 10s for both sides. They can play a hell of a lot better, and the game was still of a really good standard, which, should say something for the league. Llandovery, they're just a machine. They really are. They don't play well. They crank out wins.
Yeah.
For all rights, they shouldn't have beaten Ebbw Vale in the cup last year in the final. Ebbw Vale were really the on-form team at that point. And they just pull it out from nowhere, which is absolutely amazing. I'm trying to think of a player now.
When you think they're going to have a dip, they'll pull something out then, where if you do have a week where you think, oh, Llandovery not in their best form at the moment, they'll go pull something out like an away win then against champions. Or they just got that ability to just pull these results and performances out when you need them.
I know we've spoken about this at length through last season as well. I am still very concerned at 10, slightly less so at 9, because I think George McDonald is developing into a really good player. But at 10, it doesn't seem to be anyone there. Like Steph Jack Jones is again lined up as the main contender for Johan Hughes. But he's been playing Bucks rugby, and I'm not sure how much involvement he's going to get. I still do worry about Llandovery getting that one injury to Johan Hughes and things starting to dip. So, John, I'm sure you've seen the highlights. Anything you want to pick out?
What a game to start the new season off with. First half, you got the reigning champions and cup champions. Couldn't ask for a better, bigger game. The great tries again from this one, and what I noticed from both of them, that they look like we said about Newport last year having an all-court game. It looks like the pair of them from the tries they've scored have got a bit of that this year, as always. It was forwards tries, backs tries, just great rugby. That Llandovery Rowham Mall looked pretty serious. Don't know if they've been watching Ebbw Vale. But what a game to start season with. And I can't wait. I'm really going to try and catch tomorrow night's one now, because I've gutted I missed this one. I was looking forward to it all week, and it just worked out with the kids and with everything else. So
that's a cop out, but you didn't watch it. You were under the thumb. The
missus said
no, that was it. Okay, we've talked a lot about Llandovery, but let's talk a little bit positive about some of the Newport players. One boy who I think well worth his salt and a brilliant signing for Newport, Morgan Williams, for his first competitive game for the club. He was outstanding. I'd edge to say he beat the most defenders, probably made the most meters of any player on that park. Rob, anyone you want to pick out? I think Morgan's going to cause a lot of damage this season. Same as Finn Baker, for that try, he was right on it.
Yeah, I think that's it. You can see where the danger points are already with Newport in terms of danger to their opponents. I thought it was interesting to see how Carwyn Penny was going to go at 10 as well, because I think that was always a discussion last year around, Matt O'Brien stepping away, Carwyn Penny and Jack Lloyd coming together, and obviously Jack Lloyd playing more at 10, Carwyn Penny at full-back. All of a sudden now, Penny's pushed back to fly half, so that's an interesting battle. I thought Ben Roach was superb again up front. We seem to say it more times than ever, but it's just those little things constantly that keep you driving. And yeah, I think Newport's they look like units and well gelled together, even though they didn't get the result that they obviously wanted. I think their pre-season's been great at times. But I think Ty Morris has been quick to say that, even that Rosalind Parks fixture, a couple of interceptions, etc., turnover tries, it's, the scorelines don't always reflect. And this is what we said last week, Mark, it's difficult to tell the form, really, of a lot of these sides. They're not playing a true pre-season anymore. And yeah, I think there's going to be a few surprises in this Newport team as the new boys settle in.
Yeah. Well, I have managed to get some comments from fair with the coaches this week. So a little bit from Tyrone Morris and Newport. It was a tough opening game at home against Llandovery, who consistently been one of the strongest sides in the league over the past few years. We've had a good pre-season and went in feeling confident, started brightly, created plenty of opportunities. Half-time, felt should have been further ahead. Not quite turning our 2020s into points. early in the second half, the yellow card, momentum shifted over to Llandovery. From there, we just struggled to capitalise on anything we were doing. And Llandovery were ruthless in punishing our mistakes. Credit to them, they took their opportunities well. Very fair from Ty there. He seems to understand the flow of the game, and he's taking it on the chin. So fair play to him there. That leads us on to our next game, and I don't know which one to pick. Obviously we're going to throw you two at each other at some point, but are we going to do it? Are we going to do it early, or are we going to leave it a bit? What do you say?
Feed me.
Feed me. Okay, next up, Ebbw Vale. Go on. I'm not going to play with you. Ebbw Vale at home to Aberafan. I'm assuming one of you attended this game.
Yes.
Yes, because John couldn't make the long trip down to Ebbw Vale. Of course, he's a working man. He's a family man. It's understandable. It's not.
Daughter had swimming.
Ditto,
Could have come
actually.
up Ebbw Vale and gone swimming.
Swimming lessons, they're different. You got a pre-booked time. Hang on. If your daughter's swimming that time on a Saturday, why are you booking it that time on a Saturday? Oh my God.
That's what time classes.
Oh, so you're not going to be able to see any of Aberafan this year then? Is that what you're telling me, John?
Oh no, I could get the home games because that's not far then, but I couldn't drive an hour after it.
Oh, so he's telling us it's 1:45 and it finishes at 2:00. So that's enough time for him to get the gate. Okay, yeah. Rob, you were live in person. Tell us about this game.
Yeah, it was. Do you know, it was weird. It was a game of two halves in the sense of how it was played. I thought for a very young Aberafan side, they fronted up very well. They were physical. They came at Ebbw Vale. Obviously, the shield was on the line. Is 7 defences last season, and it's one of those ones that sometimes these younger sort of sides, the sides that were still trying to shape themselves, can often sort of not fold but go in on themselves a little and not play true to selves. But that wasn't the case. Both sides wanted to play some attacking rugby. There was some good weather to start the game off. It's unusual to say that Ebbw Vale are playing expansive rugby, but Dav Thomas grabbed a couple of nice tries. Aberafan bouncing back with some nice scores of their own. In that first half, you were thinking we got a really good game of rugby. The rain absolutely buckets it down for pretty much the entirety of the second half. It turns into a grudge match up front. It's tight there. And I think Ebbw Vale just slowly turned the screw. You could see that the pack started doing their thing. Curtis scores the penalty try. All of a sudden, a gap starts to open up. And the gap is probably fair, but probably doesn't tell the story that Aberafan had a really good 40 minutes. And to be honest, the second half wasn't atrocious from them or anything like that. It was just that little bit extra, which is where I worry for Aberafan this season, is that experience, that bit of power up front is maybe where they're lacking compared to the top sides. But we've got to take this into the context, right? Ebbw Vale last year were unbeaten at home in regular competition, unbeaten at home in the cup. Only Newport beat them in the final. They lost in the cup final as well. They were probably the second best team last season across all competitions. I think most people would put Newport above them. So yeah, that's not a bad result for Aberafan. Like I said, 6 points for Ebbw Vale. They'll be chuffed with that to get their season underway and hopefully gather a bit of momentum now in the next busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. Like, I've only watched the highlights, but it looked like you were playing a much more expansive, wider game. And those tries, if you haven't seen the highlights, go have a look. Ebbw Vale playing wide. So some really nice back play throughout the entire thing. I know it's only the highlights, but you can get the feel for it. And I think this is the influence of was it Probert, and obviously Dorian Jones, both coming in as an assistant and as a skills coach respectively. They seemingly having an impact.
Yeah.
I think Dav Thomas is the only new boy in that back line. Everyone else has been at the club at least through last season. So it's not a case of you had an influx of 2-3 new players in that back line and it's just changed things up. I do think that's all down to coaching and the more Ebbw Vale get their backline moving and playing like that, the more all-court games you get. And we get our third team entered in with Newport and Llandovery as all-rounders. It's just brilliant for the league. So, John, reflecting on what Rob has said, it's always tough to take a loss, especially when you're conceding a 6-pointer. But, given all the factors, it's not really that bad.
I was hoping it was going to be a bit closer, but it's the hardest place in the league to go if you know statistically, because nobody went up there and won last year apart from Llandovery in a cup final. So there's a reason people don't go up there and win often. But I was because there've been a lot of changes to Aberavon's squad this season. They've brought about 11 or 12 new boys in. A lot of them very young. The average age of the squad last year was 23, and they've actually brought it down to 22 this year. So they're really buying into this, bringing these youngsters and academy players through. But they've also still got they have still got some good experience in there as well. We've had Scott and Evo now has had a couple of seasons with us. Joe Gage is in his prime now. Felix Gilbert now in the back line's had a full season. The pack has been pretty much a couple of seasons as well now. So these youngsters have got to come in, but the first team then is pretty experienced. I'm looking forward to seeing this Keelan Cullen that they've signed, because we needed he's a 90% plus goal. I think he was the Bucks Super Rugby highest point scorer last season. So we've needed that, I think, for a while. We haven't had that since Jamie Davis, a 90% goal kicker. Whether we use our rugby brains then to actually kick some points. But Ebbw Vale's such a hard place to go in it. And they've always had I think they might have even had the strongest pack last year at Ebbw Vale. So if they've added a few more strings to that bow in the back line, then they're going to be very dangerous this year. And this was always going to be a tough one. So I'm not that disappointed. No, this is a team that's building now. Aberavon. This could take halfway through the season for these boys and these new boys to come in and find their feet and figure out what the best team is going forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with. But it would have been nice to come away with something, maybe a try bonus, but I think weather probably dictated that in the second half, and you don't want to play that kind of weather against Ebbw Vale up in Ebbw Vale, because like you said, they just put the foot on the throat and just squeeze the life out of you for the rest of the game. But we didn't score either. We might have had a good 40 minutes, but we haven't scored between minute 13 and minute 74, and you can't go to places like that and do that. So that's something we're got to work on but we've got the champions coming down now on the weekend, so we've got to work on it.
Fun times ahead for Aberavon. Okay, on to the next game. Bridgend winning 27-24 at home to Carmarthen Quins. And can I just say, I was absolutely heartbroken by this result. And I've spoken with Steph Thomas at Quins. They analytically, they were on top of absolutely almost everything on the stats board except for that important one, the scoreboard. It hurts, I've said this multiple times. My kids have swimming lessons at that time, so I'm literally on socials. I'm watching it, and Bridgend run their own clock on their social. So they said 80 minutes, Evan Yardley try 25-24, and I was like, oh no! Obviously, conversion went over. It was still like a minute or so left to play, but that was heartbreaking stuff. It seemed to be like we thought before, and it was very forward orientated. I think all of Bridgend's tries stemmed from that maul, which is something that Quins are going to need to work on. That is a major point. Something that LSA need to work on is that game management. If you are leading, that late on in games, you got to learn to close them out. That's something that's going to take a long time. Ellis Price is in his second year of senior rugby. I believe Rodri Lewis, another Scarlets Academy player, so he's like 22 years old, I believe. So having young halfbacks on is going to take a long time learning. And, we'll see some of the thinking into Carmarthen's 23 as we go into that later for the game with Cardiff. So, I'm hurt, but good performance. Got a bonus point out of it. Feels like 3 points lost more than 1 point gained for me. Rob?
Get myself off mute, yeah.
Oh, he's always muting himself. What's he doing,
Yeah, do you know, it's one of those ones, it's a back and forth game. I think Steph spoke about pre-season around how Quins have to see a game out, but that last 20 minutes, you have to be a bit more clinical. You have to be a bit more disciplined and a little bit more accurate. And you just feel that they just couldn't compile enough of that throughout the game. It was... Bridgend's never an easy place to go, don't get me wrong. We've seen some big results there for them last season. I think... And I got to see a bit more of it. It's their maul, as you pointed out. For me, it was cutting through Quins a lot easier than I expected. Now, I want to see if that's a case that Quins just couldn't stop it properly, which I've got a feeling it may be a little bit of that, along with an improved Bridgend pack, which you mentioned last week. But yeah, these are the sort of games that they're coach killers. Like you said, that you got to see those games out. You got to play them in the right time. You got to have your peaks and troughs. Ultimately, you got to end that last 10 minutes. You got to be that side on top. See your lead out. It's 24-20 going into the effectively the last couple of minutes, and you've got your game management head on. You go in. We can give away a penalty. They can't go for goal. Now, I know it's not as simple as that, because you can kick the touch and the game goes on now and has done for several years. The referee doesn't blow up if the clock is in the red. You can't kill the game. But equally, you've got to be just playing that little bit smarter. And again, that's going to come with a little bit of development. There's still a lot of young heads in this Quins team. Yes, the pack is quite settled, but especially behind, there's no General or Marshall there at the moment, slowing things down, taking it at their own pace. And I think that's cost this game. But yeah, it's good signs. I think they're competing already, which is good. I think they showed some good signs up front, and that they want to go through the motions. They were patient with ball in hand. I think both sides were. No, neither side was chucking the ball wide as soon as you can, because you're in the 5 meters. Everyone was patient, build your phases, slip around the corner, try and, take advantage of the pillars. And that was really good to see. I think that, again, this one was probably the second best game of the week after the Newport Land every game.
Yeah, can't argue that. One factor for Quins was the new signing of Steph Evans did pull out of the game quite late. He's had a bit of an infection, only a minor infection, just using more of a precaution, keeping him out of the game. So there was a late back three switch with Callum Woolley coming into the 15. But that's still not enough to really, dictate a game like that. Perhaps maybe having him on the field, that bit more experience, in behind, trying to call things. I mean, Bridgend had, they had 3 yellow cards in this game. I'd like to think if you have someone like Steph Evans of his experience would know, look, we need to just calm things down and play in the right areas. And, he might not be the fastest anymore, but he's definitely got enough pace to, cause some damage in this league. So, John, your thoughts on this one, my friend, before we move on?
Well, it's a great start for Bridgend. You come away 5 points from your first home game. That's all you can ask for, really. And I think for Bridgend as well, they had so many games last year where they lost it in the last 5-10 minutes and ended up with losing bonus points. So to get over the line then in that first game, get 5 points on the board straight away, I think is massive. Great to see Quins though going away from home on the first day. And I think if it weren't for so many, I think they made a lot of errors in this game, reading what the director of rugby, Steph Thomas, have said. He's said you can't come away from home and make that many errors and mistakes and expect to win. And Bridgend capitalised on them. But great to see such a competitive game because with these two sides as well, I think this could be a massive game already for towards the end of the season, because these are the wins where these are the ones that come on and be looking at thinking, right, if we're going to get an away win, we're going to go Bridgend, we're going to be going Swansea, RGC. These are the ones they're going to be targeting. So I think they will think, yeah, like you said, that's probably 3 points lost as opposed to one gained. But no, they've come so close to getting an away win on the first day of the season. So there's a lot they can take from that. And if they made all those mistakes and still got that close, then they've got a lot to work on now. They can try and put right for the next game. But perfect start for Bridgend.
Yeah, unfortunate as it may be for me that they've had a good start. Okay, next game up, we got Pontypool 25, Swansea 13. And I really hope that this isn't true, but it might be that we're seeing the Swansea from the beginning of last season. Only 3 points in the first half. Everyone knows Pontypool Park isn't the greatest of places to go, but one try, 13 points. It's not great, whatever way you look at it. Pontypool, they didn't get a try bonus, so that might just indicate what conditions were actually like on the day. But let's get your boys' feel on this one. So, I've gone to Rob a few times. Let's hear from Bookie again. Come on, John. I'm assuming you've managed to see something of this one.
Well, again, the highlights I've managed to catch. Yeah, I just don't think that's it doesn't suit Swansea's game. I don't think going up to somewhere like Pontypool, especially I'm assuming the weather weren't great there either, because it wasn't everywhere. It's I don't know what to. We say it's every year with Swansea. We expect them to kick on them, but where's it going to come from? But also, if you Pontypool, mind, because they didn't come away with a bonus point, did they, from this one? So they won't be happy with that either, I don't think, because again, this is you're going to target a game to get maximum points out of. They should be looking at that going, well, we can start the season straight off, with 6 points. So they'll probably be looking at that as 2 points dropped, because they are so good up at Pontypool Park. It's another one of those tough, horrible grounds to go to, especially on a horrible day. So I think there's something to take from Swansea out of this defensive wise, because they've restricted Pontypool to 3 tries, so they can work on that. So the defence must be doing something right. But it's a good, just I don't know where Swansea, where they go. I don't know, because they've had a lot of changes, I think, as well, haven't they, in the backroom staff. So I don't know where it's going to click for them. I hope it does, because I don't want to see them another season like they did last year. And they looked like they were improving the second half of last year as well. So I was hoping they might kick on. So unless they can turn this around quick, though, I do worry about them this year. But so it's still a win straight away for Pontypool now off the bat.
Yeah, you are right there. There's been a lot of overhaul at Swansea. I think all but one of their coaches left in the summer. Obviously, Jonathan Thomas has come in. He's brought his own team as such, and a few players moving around. But Rob, on to you for this one. Should Swansea be doing a bit better now?
Yeah, 100%. I think this is one of them games. We've had a couple of so far where we've said both sides will leave with probably quite a positive take out of the game. I think this is the one, if not the only game this week, where both sides leave disappointed, I'll be honest. The pitch is the worst in the league, and you can see it's contributed to an absolute dire of a game at times. It's claggy and it's heavy, and it's sort of influenced the pace of the game, and the fact that two sides got dragged into that. I mean, even Pontypool didn't get this set piece rolling as they usually do, and they weren't smashing Swansea around the park, to get a 5 or 6 pointer. Swansea couldn't get the sort of fast flowing game that they sort of want, but equally they couldn't deal with a bit of a power game. I do quite like the back 5 of the pack for Pontypool this season. Is starting to take a lot of shape, and with Joe Davis signing up from the Dragons as well, that's formidable. I thought Mike Hubert was superb last year. Morgan Allen's the same every year. Scotty Matthews as well. That sort of core there now is going to be crucial to them kicking on. But I feel that they've missed a trick, not getting the bonus points in sort of round one. And this is where I say, but Pontypool need to kick on. Yeah, this takes them now 12 months without a loss at Pontypool Park. But you got to kick on if you want to start winning things now, and you got to kick on if you want to be that sort of top four, that top two, and bring those semi-finals to Pontypool Park, which ultimately would be how a side like Pontypool get their trophy. But yeah, I'm interested to see how they go. I think it's one of those ones. I think the match and the conditions, everyone got a bit bogged down. Are we seeing a dogged Swansea side, or are they regressing? I don't think we really saw enough to sort of fully make our minds up. And Pontypool, similar. Was it a good Swansea side that sort of stopped them getting a bonus point given the conditions? Or is this just another average Pooler side?
Yeah, who knows? I have managed to catch up with Pooler head coach Tom Hancock. But one thing I did notice about the Pontypool squad was the fact that they had two brand new props playing on, both young props at that, Tom Sims and Owen Popple. Now, I was really surprised to see both of these boys, starting in week one. So, I think they're still experimenting as such to find the strongest 15. But from Mr. Hancock himself, so, it was a pleasing to start with a win with a number of debutants, but frustrated with our attacking performance and feel we had opportunities to take all 6 points on offer, but failed to take them. Growth in our line out and more defence in particular was very pleasing. So very much on par with what you boys are saying. 6 points was the target. 6 points was expected. 6 points wasn't taken, and feels like there's a little bit of hurt there. But you start with a win, you build on it. Wins matter. Wins will get you so far in the league. Bonus points will take you to the top. But that's the way it's been, especially now with this 6th bonus point. So on to our final game, which is the one up north, up in Gogland, RGC at home to Cardiff, and it never disappoints. RGC, they really never do. 78 points in this game, 31-47 in Cardiff's favour. And whilst that does give Cardiff the full 6 points, I think they'll be disappointed to have conceded 5 tries. That's not what Dan Fish and his men are about. Yes, they love their back play. They are incredible, possibly top 2 best sets of backs in the league. Majority of them are academy boys as well, so that says something for the future of Cardiff itself. But they conceded quite a few pretty soft tries, to be fair. There was a couple around the fringes of the ruck. They had front rowers caught out in midfield that were taken advantage of a few times. RGC, they had opportunities to really take this one to them. So I think they might feel disappointed that that gap was so big. Rob?
Yeah, I think this typifies RGC of last season. And where I think their trajectory is going is, we know the surface up there suits both of these sides. They play on it regularly. But you just can't control a game. That's, when a game goes like this and it's 78 points, it's basically a point a minute. It's back and forth. It's try ping pong. You've got to find a way to stop that, and they just can't. Cardiff got in there and had consecutive scores a few times. And you're thinking, right, that's building your gap. That's getting you a bonus point, as RGC took. But then that's also getting you your other bonus point, and that's putting your stamp on a game because, again, talking about the peaks and the troughs I've already mentioned, if you back yourself up, get a couple of scores when you're on the peak, and then your trough is only an RGC single score, which is what they were doing, all of a sudden, you've got that block of sort of breathing space throughout, and you can't be conceding 47 points at home. You can't. 31 points wins you 3 of the other 4 games. appreciate this context of the support, but ultimately you got to stand up and make some fucking tackles. Like
Oh,
it but no, but it is we talk about this as being a big development hub for rugby. Well, let's try and develop some game plan up there, because this is the 11th or 12th head coach now, because they're advertising yet another one on social media whilst John Callard steps in. I think that whoever gets appointed after John is going to be something like the 12th head coach since RGC's inception in 2007. They've had more head coaches. There's no continuity. Yet again, another season of change. And this is all it contributes to. Yeah, it's all right chucking the ball around. Cardiff are going at the other end, scoring two. They don't particularly care about slowing this game down. And it just ends in a madness. Ultimately, this is why RGC are going to finish bottom this year.
yeah, it does speak to, what are they actually doing up there in the north. I mean, it speaks more to the pathway than anything else, because when you leak in tries and points the way they do, there is clearly a problem, not only with, interpretation of your defensive systems, but the basics of tackling, like Rob has said. Obviously, he said it in a more R-rated way, as he does. But it does make me question what are they doing, in the pathways once they hit the RGC level, which is under 16s. Surely these boys should be tackling for fun, basically. They've got two teams now in the Doer Shield system. So, that's 70 boys itself. And then obviously they go up through the regional age grades. And it does beg the question, what are they coaching them? What are these boys training with? Because, they've obviously got skills. We know that, but the defenses win games more often than tries will, which
Defense
is
wins. Was it Vince Lombardi? Defense wins championships. Attack decides by how much.
exactly. It's the same thing. It's been true since the inception of majority of sports. The best offense is a good defense. If they don't score, how can they win? And that is something that RGC need to work on, and probably keep a set of coaches for 3-4 years at that. John, you would take?
Can't really add much more to that. There's basically almost every RGC game we watched from last season, especially up there. We know they can throw the ball around. We know they can score tries, but how many games last year was it 40 or 30 odd they were losing by, and they were coming away with a bonus point or 2 bonus points. But like you said, you can't go giving nearly 50 points away at home and think you're going to win, especially like a team. You need to be smarter. You can't go playing like that against a team like Cardiff, who like playing like that anyway, but also one of the other teams in the league who know how to play on that fast track like that, because they've got one as well. So you're not taking them out of their comfort zone, you're putting them in it. So, and they've got the quality to go and score. If you want to score 5 tries, they'll go and score 7. So I don't know don't really know what's changed up there over the off season, because it looks like we've just bought more of the same from last season, which is exciting to watch. I mean, the highlights were amazing. They were extended, and they were like a minute longer than any other games, and some of the tries were fantastic that they scored. But yeah, and if you're going to ship near 50 points, then you're not going to win.
No. So that brings a close to all the action from round 1, and what a round it was, which leads me to the point where I always come and say, if you've made it now, please like, share, subscribe, comment. We will engage. We love you all. John's thumbs, Rob's thumb. Just so you don't know, on YouTube, our rap channel is now just 9 subscribers away from hitting the 2,000 mark. If you are a listener, if you're not subscribed, please can you help us get past this 2,000 mark And if you hit that little notification button, you will be the first to know when all our podcasts come out, which is usually the night before we promote them. So you could be listening late at night or first thing in the morning. Sometimes we don't even promote these, podcasts till 3, 4 in the afternoon. You be listening to them at 6, 7 in the morning if you want. It's a great life. Okay, so that'll bring us on to this week's action, and we're going to dive straight into Saturday because Cardiff are too chicken shit to name their team yet. They've seen Carmarthen Quins put theirs up, and they're like, no, we're not having none of that. You're not prepping for what we've got. We are running scared. And, that is the only interpretation you can make from this. So
that must be it.
That must be it. There's no other reason at all. Okay, so we'll go alphabetically. Aberavon at home to Newport.
Mm-hmm.
Newport are hurting. They really are. So if I pull up the rest of what Ty was saying earlier, we reflected on, the Llandudno performance, take the learnings on board, and we're determined to put things right against Aberavon. They also face a tough opener at Ebbw Vale, always a difficult place to get a result. Their game had similarities to ours, with Ebbw being very clinical when it mattered. No doubt Aberavon will be eager to respond strongly in their first home fixture. For us, we're excited to get back on the field, cut out the fundamental errors from last week, and show what we can really do. Both sides enjoy playing an attacking brand of rugby, so I'm sure this will be another great example of why Super Rugby Cymru is such a fantastic competition. And it is fantastic. But I'd probably be quaking a little bit if I, heard Ty saying that about coming down to my patch. So, John, you're the Aberavon man.
Yep.
17 points, only 2 tries. Yes. Horrible, conditions against one of the better sides in the league.
The best.
But, where your trophies, my friend. But here we are. How are you feeling? What do Aberavon need to do to, get a result in this one? Because it's looking ominous.
I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic for this one.
Yeah.
I think something they are going to do this year, Aberavon, is try and make the tag a fortress again, which it has been in the past. And I know for a fact when these boys lose at home, they hate it. They come in, and fair play to them. One thing they've always got is accountability. They have, after a loss, they will come in the clubhouse after. They talking to the supporters. They're apologising to supporters. Jason will be up there doing a Q&A after every game and thanking everyone, apologising to everyone. And you can see when they do lose at home, they properly hate it. It really bugs them, and they take it personally. So I think that's something they're really going to focus on this year. I think is winning all the home games and turning that place into the fortress it was before. I don't want to be playing Newport after they've lost at home. I'd rather they were coming down a bit more complacent after a nice win. But our home forms was definitely picking up towards the end of last season. We beat Pontypool, Ebbw Vale at home towards the end of the season, so we can beat these big sides. And I'm going to this one. This is going to be my first game of the season. I'll try and do a little video for it if I can. Look forward to a few beers. And then I'll go to the game. Here we go. Bookie's Corner. Let's have a look. The book there. Dragon Bet think this is going to be a close one. Actually, it's 11-8. Aberavon to win outright. Newport 8-15. On the handicap, Aberavon have a +5 head start, 10-11. So they think it's going to be a pretty close one. But I can see Aberavon winning this one. I'm back to supporting the boys, back to backing the Wizards, and I'm going to go for a Aberavon win.
Aberavon win, wow.
And I could see it. Well, weather dependent. I could see it being a bonus point, but it'll be close. Not like they're going to beat them by 20 points and score. No, but I think they could. I think both teams could score 4 tries, but I think Aberravon are going to nick it.
You know what? I think we just got to clip that bit up. We're going to win with a bonus point and just stick it, send it to everyone in Newport who bloody goes to the games and the players
Yeah.
and it.
And in
See
the
what
middle of it,
happens.
they get stuck in, win by 20 points at the end of it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Rob, how are you feeling on this one? You know, John's back-to-back in Aberravon. You got to love it.
Yeah, we've got a bit of imposter, John. Oh, and of course,
Solve the
everybody
predictions.
else who didn't listen to the podcast last week that doesn't see the chat, unless I held that phone up to the camera, would not believe that John didn't back Aberravon. So
I
he's got
know.
to do it, really.
I know,
yeah.
but I was right. But
Oh yeah, you had a fucking tank in, but
didn't want to be. But
yeah, I've got the same fear for Aberravon this week as I sort of had with Ebervale, and that's the bit of guile and a bit of experience, that size up front. They're a lot more mobile up front than they have been for quite a while. And I think that plays into a new style of rugby they maybe deliberately trying to play, but that's sort of how they seem to be going. And as John said, you know, they picked a bit of form up towards the end of last season at tag. So it'd be interesting to see if that carries across. I just think that at the moment Newport didn't play bad for their loss. They look good, as we say. That's a 7, maybe an 8 out of 10 performance, and Landovery did an 8 or 9 out of 10 sort of thing, and sort of played well. I think Aberravon have got more to step up from their round one, but yeah, for me, Newport win.
Yeah, I probably should have told you this beforehand, but a bit of a sneak preview. We are expecting 5-6 changes to the Newport 23 and 3 Dragons coming in. Now, I'm assuming Nick Thomas is still on the sidelines. Is that right, boys?
I think he might be, yeah.
I think it might be. So that means that is Jordan Morris, Ollie Woodman, and Ollie Andrews coming in now. Jordan Morris. I mean, okay, we'll see how he gets on at scrum time, as you know, he's a young loose head, but carrying that ball, he's a problem for everyone he comes up against. Ollie Andrews, we know how good he can be on the wing. So, you know, it doesn't get any easier. You know, Newport have built a solid big squad, and you know, I gotta go with the numbers here. I gotta be smart. I gotta go for Newport. I am sorry, John, but that does mean we're not gonna have loads of us seeing the same team for every single fixture, which I really like. So that brings us on to the next game, and that is Bridgend at home to Ebbw Vale.
Yay.
Ooh. Okie dokie. Where is Mr. Strange? He's just looking forward to a tough challenge against Bridgend. That's all he's doing. So, you know, Bridgend, 100% record at home. They did steal it. So they probably, you know, like, Christ, okay, Carmarthen Quins are our top 2 team. We do admit that. But, you know, Ebbw Vale are kind of up there too. So they probably quake in themselves. They know they're up for a real big challenge this week. So Rob, are Ebbw going to do anything different? Are they going to revert to type? Are they just going to go forward, or are they going to keep up with this expansive style? What do you think?
No, it's definitely a plan to play a bit more expansively, but I just want to double check something. You said Jason Strange is looking forward to a tough challenge and Bridgend away. I just wanted to check which one it was.
Ow. You know we don't have anyone from Bridgend here to defend themselves. And on that point, if we had someone from every single club, we wouldn't get done within 12 hours. So be thankful it's just 3, honestly. Carry on.
But yeah, no, there's definitely the plan to play more expansively. You can see that with the signings they've made. I think there's a bit of hope that Morgan Rees might be fit for this week. Obviously, Morgan Richards went off injured during the game last week. No news on that. Dorian looked good off the bench as well. So there's definitely that ability and that want to play a bit more expansively. You're going to see it. I think last year the game just got a bit marred down in a few unfortunate incidents on and then off the field. And I'm hoping that this game shows the rugby that these two sides can play. Because whilst they are two, good sides and like going up against it, Bridgend, that dynamic pack, they sort of got the ball rolling. That's the battle I'm interested in seeing is, we've seen Bridgend get their maul going, stop Carmarthens from being completely destructive as it can be. Now it's time to step that up a level and sort of they've had that warm up, which does help in some ways. But yeah, I think at the moment, Bridgend are just that little bit square. They're not quite as well rounded as Ebervale, and I'm going for another away win.
Another away win. Well, it's easy enough done. Ebervale. That's all we need to say at the minute. We know how good of a team they are, how powerful they are. Outside of finals, of course. But yeah, there is one. I know we always quirk about refereeing can be better. It's up. Oh, that's for later. One little annoyance I do have in this league, and you see it on the highlights. The blocking at the lineouts. They bring in the lifter down, and they bring in the lifter down. They bring in the jumper down, and both lifters they block in for fun. It really is. You see it in every single highlights. It is annoying. I'd like for the rest to just tighten up on that, but I think it'd make for a more open contest. I think that'll be more fun, and it'd probably negate all of Ebu's power. But there we are. I am gonna back Ebu Vale because again they are strong, and I want to get some points in this prediction league. So John, tell us. Are we making a mistake here? Are the bookies saying that the home side's going to win it?
No, the bookies are with you too on this one. Bridgend for the outright winner. Bridgend 2-1. Ebervale 4-11. Bridgend have an 8-point start on the handicap, 10-11. So, not thinking Ebervale are going to run away with it, but I really, really want to pick Bridgend for this one. I really do.
Oh,
Another home game for them, and they're going to be so confident. But I'm sure I remember that happening last year. I think they had a good home win one week and went back and back it up the next week, and just did not happen. So, do I go with head or heart on this one? Because obviously the head's telling me Ebervale are going to win this one because they're going to have, they've got to play that forward game because they're probably the strongest pack in the league. So if that's your strength, and you're going up against what we was calling maybe a lightweight pack last year, might have been Bridgend's slight weakness and slight downfall. So you've got to just go up there with the weather we're having and try and choke the life out of them. But Ebervale have got a bit behind as well. So, no, what sod? I'm going to go Bridgend on this one. I'm going to go another home win. Bridgend 2-2 for Bridgend and for the Ravens.
Wow,
something in the air. I'm feeling it.
That is big. That is one of the biggest calls we have ever had on this podcast, and I'm happy to go with that.
Nothing to do with me being pissed off that Aberravon lost to Ebervale last weekend.
Nothing at all.
No.
Okay. Next game up, Llandovery at home to Swansea. We got a team that can win basically no matter how bad or good they play, and a team that may appear to be struggling. So, I can see Llandovery remaining pretty much the same. They're gonna run this exactly the same as they did against Newport. They're just gonna bide their time. They're gonna let their forwards do the work. And their backline's just gonna. I do think the backline's gonna cut them to shreds, especially knowing the last time these teams faced, Swansea somehow put a 42-24 win over Llandovery at St Helens, which it caught us all by surprise towards the back end of last season. So obviously I'm going Drovers. John, what are we thinking for this one?
It'll be Drovers, isn't it? You can't knock back Llandovery at home against most sides. So And the bookies think so as well. 1-6 for Llandovery for this one. Swansea 3-1. Only a 14 point. I say only, but to me that seems quite conservative for Llandovery at home against Swansea. No offence to Swansea, but it's just Llandovery are that good, and they're at home, and Swansea are probably going to be around that bottom 2-3 area. So if you've got to be thinking Llandovery 6 points for this one. So Llandovery minus 14 at 10-11 seems like a hell of a one stick on your acca. So yeah, Llandovery 6 points for me.
Yeah, it's I don't want to count Swansea out because they have beaten Llandovery recently.
Yeah.
But I think my only concern is if maybe Euros decides a bit of rotation is needed here. So I did manage to speak with him. If I could ever find the old man, that's really harsh. Just overall comments. Great start for us. Not many teams will win in Newport. Delighted to see the academy guys go well for us. Swansea are always tough nut to crack. Last year they beat us well. It's really important that we build on last week's result and performance. So, business as usual for Llandovery such. I think my only concern is they do have such a big squad. They do have a lot of boys playing for a lot of different clubs, dual registered. You've got the likes of, Sam Potter, who turns out for Ammanford. They had Tyvee Thomas, who plays for Newcastle Emlyn. There's just so many boys that are dual registered or connected with Llandovery that I'm not quite sure what squad might be put out. So that's probably my only concern. It's still going to be strong no matter what, but it might not be, a traditional, really, proper first team Llandovery. Rob, are we going for the first clean sweep of the night?
Yeah, this is going to be a comfortable Llandovery win for me. I think even with a little bit of rotation, I think Llandovery is still a settled squad. Uras knows what he wants to do. You got to get points on the board early doors. Swansea doing what Llandovery did last year. A few weeks on the road to start, and unfortunately that just loses all. It's like it just kills your momentum to start. And Swansea just not a Llandovery, so it's not. Yeah, 6 pointer, just like John said. Next.
Next it is. Okay, we got Pontypool at home to RGC. Now, obviously, RGC doing the travelling for the first time this year, and they're going to be doing a lot of it, as they do every year. 9 away trips in the league, plus the cup. These boys are going to be putting some miles on them doing this year, as they do every year. So the question is, you've already spoken about the quality of the pitch and how it suits Pontypool, how it can be quite a dangerous place. Okay, not dangerous as in you're going to get hurt, but dangerous as you're going to struggle for a win. Do RGC stand a chance? Rob, you were probably one of Pontypool's greatest critics. How are they going to do it?
No, I don't. I think RGC are going to fall afoul just like Swansea did. A fixture like this again lends itself to a side like Pontypool. RGC, they don't play smart rugby as sort of John alluded to. You got to play to your conditions. Sometimes you got to play to who your opponents are. And Pontypool Park is a notoriously difficult place to go. You've got to be making sure you're playing in the right areas because it's a heavy pitch. You're not going to be turning and breaking 80, 70, 60 yards for these tries. You've got to do the hard stuff first. And I just feel at the moment RGC just rushing those little bits. They haven't quite got their side settled. It wasn't a settled pack. They've lost a few in the back row. I don't think the front row is particularly settled. You can't be doing that against a side with a pack as good as Pontypool's. As you say, that front row was the only sort of blip in that 8 for Pooler in terms of what we know and what they could have done. Those guys have got a good hour under their belt plus now, so it's time to kick on. And they'll, Pontypool know what they got to do, and this is a nice little run of fixtures for them before their fixtures turn really tough. And you could say this is where you want. You'll get your momentum going. Pontypool want to get a few wins, keep themselves at the top of that table, and sort of climb from there.
John, what are you thinking, my friend?
Pretty much very similar to the last game, but and the bookies think the same thing. We've got Pontypool 1-9 for this one, RGC 9-2, plus 15 on the handicap for RGC 10-11. So they think that they're going to do even worse than Swansea are at Llandovery. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I think that the conditions, the pitch, everything is just working against RGC in this one. I think it's just almost like a perfect storm for them. It's everything that they would want to go in their favour, just not in this game. And I just think they're gonna struggle to get on top of Pontypool. I don't know. I can actually see it being closer than the Llandovery Swansea one, but it's still Pontypool, and I think 6 points as well for Pontypool in this one.
Yeah, we're all in agreement. This is another clean sweep across the board. All three of us back in Pontypool over RGC. I mean, there are possibilities for RGC to, get a win here. It's just that scenario is seeming more and more unlikely, and especially this time of year. We're into the autumn months. The rain is coming down. It's cold. Rugby is a winter sport, but at the same time, this was been playing back end of April. Bit of sun, dry pitch. Who knows what RGC may have been able to do it, but alas, that is not what we're dealt with. So it is all three of us for Pontypool, and that brings us to tomorrow, which is probably today now for all you. Tonight, I should say. Carmarthen Quins travelling to face this little team from somewhere, a bit further east. They make. I think they cross the 7. To be honest, that's what it feels like when I'm there. Anyway, Carmarthen Quins head into face Cardiff at Cardiff Arms Park. I was about to say Carmarthen Arms Park. That would have been a weird one. But we had the little yes, the little surprise we had a bit earlier with Rob putting his phone up to stream was Cardiff have finally announced their squad. So shall we dive into the squads first before we get into talking? So Cardiff have just put theirs out, so we'll have a little look into them. So not many changes. The only one in the back line is Harry Wild is nowhere to be seen. That means youngster Lloyd Lucas is starting a game at 10. So, quite risky starting youngsters, but, we see Cardiff doing it all the time. At 10, they've also got Aloni and Ian Davis from Bath, courtesy of Cardiff Rugby. At 9, so that's a pairing that's never been tested before, especially at this level. 6 of the 8 pack, the same. Changes in hooker and loosehead. We got Gruff John Morris coming in for Garen. Well, Parry at hooker, and we've got Joe Cowell coming in for CTG at loosehead. Now that surprised me a bit because Cowell is played tight head. He's played all his rugby at tight head as far as I was aware, especially, watching all the teams through last year, he was always a tight head. So, that is surprising to me. Only one new boy onto the bench, which is Joseph Jones, a back 3 player, but another academy player, could be a first year again. The rest of the bench is as it was, or the replacements for the 2 front rowers that have changed. So, I'd hazard to say that this Cardiff side is probably a slight bit weaker than the one we saw against RGC. Harry Wild is a very, very comfortable player at this level. Lloyd Lucas not tested out as much. I know he had a couple fixtures towards the end of last season, a few minutes on the board. Might have had a few minutes during the cup as well. I need to check that. Joe Cowell at Loosehead is a big one for me. No, I've played both sides. I've played hooker as well. If he hasn't played a lot there, he could be in for a really tough time because training only does so much. Even if you're training against one of your own teammates that's going full pelt, you need a full 8 going at you to really understand that pressure and how to deal with it. So this could be a tough one for Joe Cowell. So we head over to Carmarthen Quins, and again, very similar. There's only one new name in the 23, and that is Steph Evans, who dropped out late last week. He returns at 15. Callum Woolley has dropped out of the 23. David Waters is in off the bench onto the wing. Switch at 9 and both props. So Rodri Lewis now starting, Rodri Davis on the bench at 9. Evan James and Connor Allen have swapped places at tight end with James starting, and Sam O'Connor now starts with Reece Fawcett on the bench at loose head. Still a very strong Quinn side. It's hard to balance. There's seems to be a bit of that thinking where they said about closing out games and a bit of game management. They've moved their more experienced players at prop and 9 onto the bench. Are they thinking they're going to be in this game around the 45, 50-minute mark? And they're like, okay, let's get the old heads on, get the ones that know how to finish games. Like Evan James, Sam O'Connor, Roger Lewis. They're all really, really good players, but you can't coach experience. And that's one thing the other boys have. And they have it in bucket loads. They really do. So, Rob, where's this one going to be won and lost? Are Cardiff's backs really going to do enough damage? Because I'm going to say it now, watching the highlights of them against RGC, Lucas, his passing, his range of passing was really good. He could sling that ball out, keep it tight. He looks a good player. Fair play to the kid.
Yeah, don't let the unfamiliarity of the name fool you into worrying about the lack of quality. He's got quite a bit of game time in pre-season as well, and he's going to be good enough to manoeuvre this side around. I do like this Quins team. I really do. You look around and there's a lot of experience in that pack, whether you look at the bench and or starting 8. There's some really good names in our back line. Let's hope that Steph Evans has a good run out this week and he can actually get on there. I do worry about their half-back pairing and just letting them settle in and sort of get going, I'll be honest. And I think that's just where it comes down to this Cardiff side. Even though there's a few combinations there, the half-back pairing again isn't tested. I still think that there's enough quality there to do some heavy damage. I do like the second and back row a lot. I like Ben Fry as a new signing and Lucas De La Rua sort of sitting in it as well. Will Davis King is absolutely quality in the front row, and is that sort of name that when you're just seeing them dropping into that 15, you can just see them that little bit of quality drip fed in. I just got a feeling at the moment the Cardiff will have a little bit too much, but again, I can see this being a 1-score game.
Oh, John, over to you, my friend.
I wouldn't go as far as a 1-score game. I think
Quins will win by 6 points. Yeah, that's it. The full 6 points on the table.
Because I think if you remember last year, this was the 50-0 encounter, I think, wasn't it? That surprised everyone after Commander started the season really well. But bookies got this as the biggest winning margin of the weekend so far. Cardiff were 1-12 for this one. Carmarthen Quins 6-1. 18-point head start for Carmarthen Quins on the handicap at 10-11. So that's where they think this is how they think this is going, and I tend to agree. It's just Carmarthen just don't suit Cardiff, and I think especially at cap as well on that last pitch. I just they're gonna have too much for Quins. I think it's got to be Cardiff at home, 6-pointer. If Quins can get in, if they can keep it under 40, maybe that'd be and get a couple of tries, then that's not a bad day out. No, nice night out in Cardiff as well. Then you can make it.
Where's the belief, boys? Oh, honestly, the bookies, they never get it right, and Bucky never gets it right. I mean, he's backing. Let's look at his prediction record from last season. Bottom of the pile, absolute bottom. Quins are winning this nice and easy.
I haven't seen it. I just assumed I'd won it.
Yeah, you assume wrong, like most of them. No, I get your Rob's, a bit of unease around the halfbacks. Ellis Price and Rodri Lewis, they are, they're both academy boys, but they're not really. They're not standouts. They're not stars. They're not boys that have been like tagged to be, the next big thing, or they're 100% assured to be a pro player sort of thing. Rodri Lewis came over from the Ospreys Academy. Ellis Price has moved from 12 to 10. That conversion was done last season, so he's still in that transitional phase. However, he did look really good last week, and he seems to have come a long way. There's just having Steph Evans in here, that bit of extra leadership, I think, will help. I do like the way that they've gone with their thinking, where they put a bit of experience, especially Rodri Davis on the bench to come on. I've always said this wherever I go. I'm not averted just to bringing my subs on 20, 25, 30 minutes into a game. Having your best team on for as long as possible and finishing the game. You do what you got to do. If I got a really weak player to play, I'd rather have him on the pitch when everybody is fresh and around him to negate that weakness. I wouldn't want to chuck him on with 10 minutes to go. Everybody's blowing. So his frailties are really on show for everyone to see. But yeah, I'm backing Quins. I think I'm going to be backing Quins majority of weeks this season because they are just that good. They really are. And I've got to admit that I am looking forward to watching it tomorrow night or tonight or yesterday. Whenever you're listening to this, it's going to be a big one. So that does wrap us up for this week. Thank you all for listening. John, Rob, thank you for joining me, and we will bring you more next week. This has been awesome. Super Rugby Cymru is back. We are bouncing. Let's go. No star, everyone. Goodbye.
That was the Super Rugby Cymru podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
They got Willa. They got my daughter. I need to find her. Ah!
From acclaimed director Paul Thomas Anderson.
You can save that girl.
Today, experience what is being called the best movie of the year.
This is the end of the line. Not for you.
Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Tiana Taylor, Chase Infinity.
Let's go! Here I am.
One battle after another. Now playing only in theaters. Experience it in IMAX. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
You can't hide.